Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I did a video a couple days ago about Toyota wanting to turn some functionality of their key fob into a subscription service. And that video is actually one of the most popular videos I've ever put up in terms of how many people watched it and how quickly they watched it. And the interesting thing, though, is I got some pushback from just a couple people who said, Steve, you got that wrong. You're completely wrong. And I don't know how you got this so wrong, including a guy who emailed me and said, Steve, you need to watch this video that explains it. And he just included a link. And here's the thing, and I apologize. If you send me video links, I won't watch them because I literally get hundreds of them emailed to me every single day. So if I watched all the video links I was sent, I'd be doing nothing but watching videos, and I wouldn't have time to eat or sleep, and I couldn't make videos. So if you have quick explanations of why I'm wrong, explain it to me. So I said, well, I'm not going to watch the video, and the guy goes, well, it's too bad because it explains why you're wrong. And a bunch of people were trying to say that Toyota was not going to change any of the functionality of the key fob. They were simply going to change the functionality of some over-the-air service involving the internet or the cloud or some such. And that's not what was going on. And one of the reasons we know that is there's an update to the story from The Drive, Rob Stumpf. He's the guy who's on this story. And Toyota is now reviewing key fob remote start subscription plan after massive blowback. So if I had been wrong in how I described it in my last video, they'd have nothing to review. And yet here they are reviewing it. So spokesperson told The Drive, where Rob Stumpf works, that making the key fob remote start part of the subscription plan was an unintentional move. So they say, yes, that is something we were talking about, but it was unintentional. So we're going to work that out. Earlier this month, The Drive broke the story about Toyota locking its key fob remote start function behind a monthly subscription if owners of certain models weren't actively enrolled in a larger Toyota Connected Services plan. The proximity remote start function on the fob, that is, when you press the lock button 3 times to start the car while outside of it, will not work even though it sends the signal directly to the car. I had several people say, Steve, that's simply because when you do that, it sends a signal to the cloud and the internet and the Ethernet and tubes and wires. No, even though it sends the signal directly to the car. Obviously, this sent people into a frenzy, whether they own a Toyota or not, because it was seen as a dark harbinger of the perils of fully connected cars. Automakers now have the ability to nickel and dime you by charging ongoing subscription fees for functions that used to be a one-and-done purchase. And we talked about this before. One automaker's actually talked about turning your heated seats into a subscription service. And there's nothing about your heated seats that involves the internet. At the time, Toyota declined to give us detailed answers on why it chose to take a feature that doesn't need an internet connection to function and moved it behind a paywall. Today, we've got answers. Toyota now claims it never intended to market the key fob remote start as a real feature, and it also says the subscription requirement was an inadvertent result of a relatively small technical decision related to the way its new vehicles are architectured. Oh, I love this corporate speak. Toyota has heard the outrage, however. A spokesperson told us, that's The Drive, the company was caught off guard by the blowback, and its executive team is currently examining whether it's possible to reverse course and drop the subscription requirement for key fob remote start. Again, even though it doesn't need an internet connection to function. So assuming a driver has a subscription or active trial to Toyota's Remote Connect plan, one of several in its suite of connected services that add things like owner smartphone apps, automatic emergency calling, and more, they can perform a remote start a few different ways. One is by using the app on the phone, another is a connected service like Amazon's Alexa, and the third is by using the proximity key fob. But no matter which method is used, the command must always flow through what's called the vehicle's Data Communication Module, or DCM, which is a piece of hardware in cellular-equipped Toyotas that facilitates the car's connected services. It also contains a bit of software logic which, according to Toyota, checks whether or not the customer has an active subscription or trial connected to services. The DCM is programmed in such a way that the remote start is either enabled or disabled. That means that if the driver attempts to start the car using the key fob, the request is first sent to the DCM for approval and denied if there's no active subscription or trial, even if it's coming from the proximity key fob and not running through the larger cellular network. The diagram below is a useful visual explanation, and I'm not going to talk about the diagram here because I can't do diagrams. I'm not going to break out the whiteboard for this. So that explains how Toyota got here. But less clear, of course, is why, and we all know why, but Toyota now says that lumping the key fob remote start into the subscription service wasn't intentional. A spokesperson told us the majority of Toyota employees were unaware of the setup and caught off guard by our first story. Further, it claims that the key fob remote start function as it exists today is more like an unofficial user hack that Toyota no longer advertises, hence the lack of a separate remote start button on the fob, and evidently its surprise at the blowback that the drive's initial story generated. Toyota spokesperson told the Drive, the subscription truly is for the app, and the key fob remote start was never intended to be a cost item, either at the time of purchase or through subscription. So while you can triple click the lock button to request a remote start, it's not actually something you're supposed to do, according to Toyota's concept. The spokesperson pointed out that Toyota's marketing and material and owner's manual for affected vehicles don't advise drivers to use the key fob to do that. Sure enough, that's true. But that, of course, throws the dealers under the bus because the dealers do show you how to do that when you buy the car, most likely. So that's assuming they do their job. So getting back to this, and by the way, there's a lot more to the story. And Rob Stumpf breaks it down with diagrams and images, and I'll put a link to his story in the description below this video. But it appears that Toyota did this, and whether they did it intentionally to see if they could get away with it, just kind of put their toe in the water, or if it really was just an oddity of how they architectured their car. But there is an explanation as to why the remote start, which does not use internet connection, why that would still be shut off if you didn't have the subscription. And that's because the way the DCM works and the monthly subscription that would control some functionality of the DCM. So, the people who said, Steve, you're wrong, sorry, I'm right. But number two, there were some people who clearly reacted to the headline because I said that Toyota is going to charge you for use of your key fob. And I had some people say, Steve, obviously I'm going to let you drive your car. The key will still work. But you have to understand that headlines cannot contain the whole story. If they did, they wouldn't be a headline. They'd be the whole story in print. So you kind of have to thumbnail, to shorten, to elevator pitch. You've got to find a way to summarize a story into about 5 or 10 words, depending on how long the words are. And then I make the thumbnail, which is the bright letters on a picture of me doing something with my hands, most likely. And I put that up. And I've had people who've started arguments with me because the thumbnail, they read it in a way that gave them some impression where the video clearly explained what it was. And I've said to people, did you watch the video? And they go, no, why should I? The thumbnail's wrong. You're wrong in the thumbnail. Or the headline, or what do they call it, the title. And I'll say, but you understand that the title is just to introduce the topic. And the point is that Toyota had proposed charging people to use their key fob for one of the functions that most people assume is free. And that was what they were going to do. And I had a few people go, but Steve, it's only because you need to use the internet functionality and blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. That's why people are freaking out. So, I'm sorry. So the takeaway from this, you should understand, is that Toyota is now rethinking doing this because of the blowback from stories like mine, but also from The Drive, and Rob Stumpf, like I said, is doing a great job on this. And number two, if you send me emails with story ideas, don't just send me a link and go, Steve, watch this video. Because I don't have time to watch the video. If you find a story someplace on the internet that's got a cool headline or something like that, send me the link to that, because I can glance at the headline and very quickly tell if it's something I'm interested in doing. But the funny part is that when the guy sends me the link and says, Steve, check this out, you're wrong. Well, it's a video link. I don't have time to watch it, so I'm not going to watch your video. Well, you're wrong. You should watch it. But never said why I was wrong. So, sad part is I was right. I was right. So, John, Aaron, and Suze, Seinfeld fans will appreciate that. John, Aaron, and Suze all sent that to me. That's the updated story from the drive. I'll put the link to the complete story below. But Toyota is now reviewing key fob remote start subscription plan after massive blowback. So there you go. Thanks, everyone. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. What you are will show in what you do.